It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're listening. I hope you're doing all right today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's to get an authentic Italian meal. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by Fight TV. We love to be part of Fight TV, or we love being part of Fight TV, and you can watch us on Fight TV anytime on your handheld device, your phone, your tablet, whatever. Just download our free app. It's easy. Go to our website and click the banner that says download the free app, BillyCBoxing.com. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can get a copy of this book right now while you're watching or listening to the show. All you got to do is visit Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. Looking to get a signed copy? Don't worry about it. Visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the book. You can't miss it. It's all over the front page. You're looking to get some last-minute Christmas gifts. You forgot about it. Christmas next week already. Well, hey, nothing's better than giving everybody on your list a copy of my book. Looking to get discount copies? Hey, buy more than one and I'll hook you up. Just drop me an email, Billy@TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about telling Tom Molyneux's story. What an important part of boxing history. It's an important part of American history, and it's an important part of Black American history. Check out the book. You're going to love it. It's a short read. It's a quick read. It's a pretty captivating read. But anyway, hey, coming up a little bit later, speaking of books, I got the author of a new book on Muhammad Ali. It's called Ali. It's been getting great reviews. And Jonathan Igg is the author of that book, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. But he will be joining us and telling us about his book. What a complete work of Muhammad Ali. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Also, we're going to break down, we're going to talk about and break down and give you our official predictions on what I think is the biggest fight of the weekend. Billy Joe Saunders defending his WBO middleweight title against David Lemieux. It's going to be up in Canada, and we will be breaking that down and giving you our predictions. But we're going to kick off the show with this. It was confirmed that Teddy Atlas is no longer part of the ESPN broadcast. Teddy's been a figure and their color commentator and a fixture on ESPN boxing events for over 21 years. And it was officially announced yesterday that he will not be continuing in that role. Now, he still has a couple of years left on his contract. I have some quotes from Teddy, but we talked a little about this earlier in the week or late last week. I think ESPN is making a big mistake. The moves that appear to be taking place in the sport of boxing, and really, I shouldn't just say boxing because it seems to be taking place across the board. I'm not sure I agree with it. In football, you got football guys calling the games and analyzing the games and giving you their perspective and breaking it down, et cetera, et cetera. Baseball, same thing. Hockey, same thing. Basketball, same thing. You always have that lead commentator that's, by the book, but, he tosses those softballs up, so to speak, to the experts. Well, boxing should be the same. Why is boxing the only sport that allows non-boxing people to be right in the trenches? And Teddy Atlas was the only boxing guy on ESPN. You got Timothy Bradley now doing some color commentating, and no disrespect to Timothy Bradley because he does a good job. I like him, but they bring in these other guys. Excuse me. They bring in these other guys that basically are either writers or they're not boxing guys. Mark Kriegel is definitely not a boxing guy. Stephen A. Smith doesn't know a left hook from a fish hook. He's just a yeller and a screamer. I'm very disappointed in ESPN, and I think it's going to hurt their boxing ratings. Joining me right now from a place a hell of a lot warmer than where I am. Right now it's about 3 degrees. Is my man Sal Rocky Senecola. Good morning, Sal.
Good morning, Billy C. How are you today, my friend?
I'm doing well. Except it's a little chilly. I'm like Chilly Willy today.
I could use
a little chilly. What's your thoughts on officially Teddy Atlas being removed from the live boxing events on ESPN?
I do coincide with you. I think it's a mistake. I mean, Teddy Atlas has been a fixture there for a while. And Teddy Atlas is a boxing personality. He is a boxing knowledgeable guy. And he brings that dose of reality into the forum when they do their announcing. And I think, that's what got him in trouble. I think he spoke too many times about his real opinion of what he felt about some things. And
what's wrong with that?
No, it's nothing wrong with it. That's what I'm saying. But when you are in that corporate scenario and you have other non-boxing people making decisions and pulling the strings, you're it's like the Godfather used to say, I never wanted to be a puppet on somebody's strings. Well, guess what? You're still at the end of the strings and you're still a puppet in a sense. And if you don't do exactly what you're expected or supposed to do or stay in line and have a little governor guiding you what you need to watch out for, you're gonna be hacked, and they're gonna do it in a most diplomatic, like little trickle down effect way they did, just like they did with Teddy Atlas. And I think it's a mistake because Teddy Atlas does bring something to the table and a wealth of knowledge that these other guys just really don't have.
It's sad that our society has come to this point, and you're 100% correct. Teddy Atlas, and listen, I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's not that I think Teddy Atlas is so great, because I really don't. As a matter of fact, my biggest knock on Teddy Atlas is the fact that, he'll give his opinion on something, and if you don't agree with him, you're wrong. Your opinion doesn't count. It's either Teddy's way or everybody else is wrong. And I disagree with that. I mean, boxing is a subjective sport. You and I can, agree on something, or we can disagree on something, but that doesn't make either of us right or wrong. I mean, I'm usually right and you're wrong, but that's besides the point.
Whoa, easy. I was thinking the same.
The truth. Oh wait, I just had a Teddy Atlas moment. But the truth of the matter is that Teddy isn't a puppet, and I like that. Even though I don't always agree with him, right. I like that, especially during boxing. And especially when I'm watching boxing, a live boxing event, and I want to hear something from a boxing guy. And that's Teddy. Teddy brings that. Now, Joe Tessitore, first of all, he's a great college football announcer. But, sometimes they really, repeat everything Teddy says and kiss Teddy's ass, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, Teddy was the only boxing guy, aside from their former boxers they bring on there, like Timothy Bradley currently, on ESPN. And he's been there for 21 years. Again, like whether you agree with him yelling and screaming and spitting all over the mic or not, I think he was part of that broadcast, and I think they're gonna miss him. The guy that they brought in to replace him, Mark Kriegel, is actually awful. And to have Stephen A. Smith, chiming in, yelling and screaming, and this guy knows shit about boxing. I mean, let's be real. There's no way to color it, to cover it up or anything. I mean, no. Stephen A. Smith doesn't know crap about boxing. He really doesn't, and it's sad, Sal. Because a lot of the audience and the guys, the suits I call them, that are making these decisions, they don't know a thing about boxing. And yet they're making the decisions about what the fans are going to see. So in a sense, aren't they starting to brainwash the fans? I mean, we complain. We get these emails from listeners like Raheem, who has no clue about the sport of boxing and has drank every ounce of Kool-Aid that they've given to him to believe that undefeated records mean you're good and blah, blah, blah. Isn't that the same thing that they're trying to do to us here from ESPN?
Well, it possibly could be their format, their goal, and their direction. I mean, like our young fan in Raheem, he is learning. He may evolve. He may come out. His father's a very wise man, and I think his father knows boxing. But as ESPN is trying to learn, and these suits are trying to learn, they're going to see. And, I thought last week's format with having Teddy Atlas do like a little sidebar in a private room where he had nobody else with him, but he'd give his opinions and dissertation about what he thinks each fighter can do and how they're going to win. I thought that was very nice. I thought it was a good added facet to the puzzle here. But I could almost see them keeping that just like that, where he is alone in a room just giving his opinion about what each fighter has to do and how they have to win. I thought that was good. But to totally oust him out of the network and have his absence 100% says they want to go in a whole nother direction. And as you said, with the people they're aligning themselves with being non-boxing people, it's going to be something that they're looking to sell to the majority of the public that are the casual listener, are the people that aren't in their market brand, and that they're going to try to capture. I think that they're going to try to retain the fans they do have, yes, and they will, because the fans, guess what? They want to know, they want to think they know everything too. So as they do learn, they're going to be right on par with people that don't know. So it's going to be a win-win for a business decision such as the ones they made, and that's what they're looking at.
Well, let me tell you something. First and foremost, boxing hasn't been more like professional wrestling than it is now.
About it.
I mean, it has become WWE 2. And this is just, Stephen A. Smith is just another reason. Mark Kriegel, just another example. I mean, these guys, you might as well, like I said the other day, you might as well have Vince McMahon and Mean Gene Okerlund come on out and do this stuff. And bring back Jesse Ventura, too. I mean, Jesse the Body Ventura would fit right into the way they're portraying the sport of boxing. Just for the record, ESPN still has, according to multiple reports, ESPN and Teddy Atlas still have a contract in place that is between 2 and 3 years. And, they're going to have to come to some kind of agreement. Also, the execs at ESPN said that Teddy Atlas will still be performing interviews like they showed this past weekend, just not the live boxing stuff. Teddy Atlas was quoted as saying this. He said, "It doesn't look like I'm going to be back, at least from what I understand. This is the decision. It wasn't my decision. I can't really talk about it anymore because I'm under contract. I've always tried to be upfront and honest. I'm not able to speak about it. I don't mean to be vague or to the point, because that's what I like to be, and I always tried to be, whether people liked it or not. But this wasn't my choice. I've appreciated the 21 years I've been at ESPN and the opportunity that they've given me. And I appreciate the opportunity the fans have given me. I still have 3 more years of a commitment to a company that's been good to me. I'm looking forward to fulfill my commitment and be true to that. I wish I was able to speak more on it, but I gave my word that I wouldn't."
Wow.
I mean, it is
That's
what it is.
classy
I wish he could.
response.
I wish he could be honest,
Yeah.
because I would love nothing more than Teddy Atlas to be spitting and screaming about what really took place. But some inside sources close to ESPN has said that Teddy Atlas's behavior on two specific broadcasts was the final straw in their decision to remove him. Apparently, during the Manny Pacquiao, Jeff Horn. Now, you remember this. Remember when many people felt that Manny Pacquiao won, including myself, and Jeff Horn did not. Teddy Atlas even questioned Jeff Horn. How do you feel about a terrible decision? And the network was beside themselves. They felt that was totally unprofessional, and that was basically, strike two. Strike one was the accumulation of all the other times. But strike three actually happened the first week they brought this clown, Mark Kriegel, in, and he was saying some stupid shit like he was saying the other day, the last broadcast, and Teddy Atlas kind of got into a sparring match verbally with him and was questioning his boxing credentials, which I applaud, Sal. I applaud.
Well,
the network didn't like it because the network looked bad by bringing a non-boxing guy in who doesn't know a left hook from a fish hook. And the truth of the matter is I agree with Teddy. So apparently the suits at ESPN felt that that was the final straw, and that's why he was removed. What's your thoughts on those two last major issues, the Horn Pacquiao fight, and of course him questioning Mark Kriegel's lack of boxing knowledge?
Well, those were two strikes. I mean, and they were the last strikes, and they were the nails in his coffin. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with him what he did with Jeff Horn. I mean, he could have put it another way. He could have phrased it maybe, but it was a close fight. And when I looked at that fight again, Jeff Horn definitely looked like he was in that fight 100%, and he did land some good telling blows, especially towards the end of the fight. It looked like he was more in control, in my opinion. And I think that I think was really the eye opener for ESPN to say, "Well, we got to oust this guy or quiet him down a little bit, put a mute on him somewhere." And then when he got into that little sparring session with Kriegel, you don't do that on air nationally or worldwide TV, on a sense, and to question the powers that may be as far as whose credibility is warranted and why. And I think that again was the final final nail in his coffin. And I understand, because I think you want to support each other, you want to try to praise each other and not question one's credibility on air when you're doing a live broadcast. So that was probably the final straw, and that I'm sure he's going to regret that and wishes he could retract it. But then again, Teddy Atlas, maybe he doesn't, because he just wants to shoot from the hip and tell it like it is, and that I do respect from him. So I don't want to contradict myself either.
Why would they? I totally disagree. Why would he feel bad about that? I mean,
No,
I agree.
He wouldn't, and that's what I'm saying.
I agree with him. I mean, listen. You're talking about a boxing. You're talking about the sport of boxing. Why bring in people that don't know crap about the sport? Sal, it makes no sense. There's not another sport, professional, that has whatever that sport is, people involved. They don't even. Boxing is the only sport that you can become. And I've talked about this many times. Boxing's the only sport. Consider this, Batman. Consider this. I have never listen. Although I've been involved in this sport for 35 years, and I've promoted, I've managed, I've done everything in boxing except for one thing. I boxed as an amateur, never as a pro. But I never did one thing. I never was a trainer. I never learned how to be a trainer. I never pretended to be a trainer. I've given comments during sparring or workout sessions. Why isn't he doing this? Why isn't he doing that to the trainer? But I've never been a trainer. But the truth of the matter is, and I've talked about this on this show many times, I could go right now to a boxing event, bring you as my fighter, and I could say, hey, I'm the trainer, and you know what it would take for me to be labeled chief second? $25 or whatever the fee is to get the license to be in the corner that night. End the story. Poof, I'm a trainer. Right. You know, that is the problem. Boxing should be like every other sport. You think you could go into an NFL or even a high school, try and go to a high school football team and say, hey, I want to be the coach. I want to be the coach. Well, what experience do you have? Well, I never coached football before. I played it once or twice. You know, I play it on a video game. You know, I mean, you know, you really think that they could get involved in any other sport? Boxing, you could be a promoter. We could pick up some schlup off the street and give him the money to pay for a promoter's license, and poof, he'll be a promoter in the sport of boxing. Boxing is the only sport that you don't have to have any experience in to get involved. And I think that's bullshit.
Well, and I follow you, and I agree with you. And, you know, I look at the whole scenario there with ESPN, and follow me what I'm going to say. Like a referee will give pre-fight instructions to each fighter in the locker room. Well, I'm sure the suits had some type of instructions off air prior to bringing Kriegel on and Teddy Atlas as far as any outline of sparring. And then here's the other thought. Maybe after the Jeff Horn fight, and that was a little bit controversial, maybe they wanted to get a street man, a fan, somebody in a Mark Kriegel, so they can offer that other side of an opinion of how a fight is going along and take it from what this non-boxing guy may view or see with his own eyes for the first time.
Stop.
So there
Stop.
Stop. I'm putting shit on corporate.
Yeah, you really are.
But it's not a bad idea.
Hey, I'm getting sick. I'm
getting a layman from the street that doesn't know much about the sport. Well, let's hear your opinion. What do you think's going on?
I'm ready to.
Then Teddy said, "Well,
I'm ready to throw up." I'm ready to throw up listening to you trying to justify. Here's the truth.
I'm trying.
The truth is, and this is it's a sad truth. The guys making the decision on who's even on the broadcast is where it starts. They don't know boxing. So what the hell do they think? Oh, Teddy's not being politically. It boils down to that. Teddy's not being politically correct because he's not showing respect. He might be offending somebody. You know,
there's a lawsuit waiting to happen.
Let's bring in someone else who's going to carefully not offend anyone. It's the same thing as that big fat you know what Dan Raphael, who's a fantastic writer and a good reporter. But let's be honest, the guy doesn't know boxing. I challenge anybody to go back to anything he's ever done, either written, video, said, I don't know, except eating, because you can't be near Raphael. The guy eats like a friggin' pig. But the truth of the matter is that the guy doesn't know the sport of boxing. He's a good writer and he's a reporter. And one thing I do admire about Dan Raphael is that he's thorough with his reports. He'll find out the intricacies of the contracts and stuff like that. But as far as the sport itself, no. And guess what? He's their chief boxing guy. Give me a break. Mark Kriegel doesn't deserve to be on a newsstand selling newspapers, let alone on ESPN doing boxing commentary. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. And I'm not a fan of Teddy Atlas, but let me tell you something.
You aren't. I know that.
All I ask is that in the sport of boxing, we have boxing people doing what we're supposed to do. That's it. There's nothing wrong with that. I think the sport would be better, Sal.
Well, it makes, it's true math. I mean, it's simple math. 1 + 1 = 2. And yes, I think having boxing people, knowledgeable people that are in the fight game, that are in the business, that have trained fighters, that are managers, it's a dose of reality from their perspective of experience. And you cannot replace experience with unknowledgeable or inexperienced commentators. You just can't. No. And that's a world of experience.
We got to take a short break. When we come back, I got some other interesting news we'll talk about. The word retirement means it's over, right? Well, not in boxing. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. Programming note, don't forget, we're not doing a live show tomorrow. And for our final shows of the year, we will be back next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then we're off until after the first of the year. Now, New Year's Day is on, obviously, January 1st, and that's a Monday, I believe. So we'll be returning January 2nd. All right, so that's our programming note for live shows. We will not be here tomorrow. We will be back Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we'll be off for the holiday until Tuesday, January 2nd. So if anybody has those your top 2017 fights of the year, you better email them to me ASAP if you want them read. Billy at Talkin' Boxing, TalkinBoxing.com. Now, Sal Rocky Senecola, you hold the Guinness World Record for having the longest time in between fights. You retired and came back 25 years in what?
I think it was either 66
You know. What do you mean you think?
I think it's either 63 or 66 days and 22 and a half hours.
Yeah, exactly. I knew how many seconds. Anyway.
Actually 33.
33 seconds. Anyway, that was quite the distance. And, for Sal's retirement, he ended up gaining not only a victory in his comeback fight, but a place in the Guinness Book of World Records, most likely a record that will never be broken. However, Orlando Salido retired after his fight this past Saturday night when he got stopped by Miguel Roman. And at 37 years old, he said he's just not the same fighter. He's retired. And we talked about that, Sal, on Monday, and we all agreed that it was over. The guy's been in wars. The style of a fighter he is, justified the end. He's got a family, et cetera, et cetera. Well, yesterday he said, I'm coming back. I'm going to be back in 2018. His retirement lasted less than 1 week. He said, and I quote, "Saturday night, I let my feelings and my frustrations make me say things I didn't think about. It was a tough and difficult fight in which I couldn't do the things that I needed to do in the ring, which I attributed to my age and the many wars that I've had in my career," which we agree with. But when I returned home and after thoroughly examining my preparation and the fight itself, I realized that the weight was also part of the problem last week. I arrived at the camp weighing a lot, the highest in my career, and losing weight became the focus of training. That sounds familiar. And preparing me for the fight was secondary, which I say all the time. I hate to say it, but I do. Anyway, he says, I feel like I left the fight on the scale. It's not an excuse. What's the next word? But having one fight in 18 months didn't help me to stay in condition for what was extremely strong preparation, but in which the weight became the obstacle to overcome. While I was happy with the fight that I offered to the public on Saturday, I know I can still make things better, and that's why I'm going to keep my options open in 2018. If something good comes out at 130 or 135, I would seriously think about going back to fight. Sometimes at the end of a fight, in the heat of the moment, things are said, but when you take some time to reflect, you realize that you shouldn't have said them. I want to return to the ring and give my fans more shows, and I think I have something good left to offer boxing. It sounds to me like either the warrior a boxing mentality is coming out, maybe he realizes he can make some money, or maybe the rumor that another fight with Vasily Lomachenko is looming. What's your thoughts, Mr. 25-plus year guy coming out of retirement and returning to the ring?
Well, tell you what, Bill, it's probably one of the hardest things to do when you do retire. And, the thought of, there are some fighters that are ready and they just want to be done with it. And it's been a brilliant career and they're ready to start their new stage of life. And it's true. And there are those that sometimes, like in my case, you don't want to go out with a loss. You don't want to, there's things there that you felt you could have done differently and that you know that you can do and show and get back in shape and do things. And those are the fighters that have a little demon, a little silent professor in their head saying, hey, you could do it. You could do it. Now, in Salido's case, yeah, he's the only man to have beaten Lomachenko, which was a hard feat, as we know, for anyone to do. He is a warrior, and his style of fighting takes its toll on you. Maybe not right now, but maybe 10 years from now, he's going to start paying a price. Hopefully not. Hopefully he'll be one of the guys that can escape it. But his style of fighting is very brutal. And I'm telling you, the cumulative effects and the blows over the years, they do catch you sometimes. And I hope that's not the case with him. He's a good family man. He's a loving father, husband. And I think he has the opportunity. But he's got that skeleton, that demon, that nudging thing saying, I should have done things different. And yes, I agree with him. If you're worried about your weight and training, you still have to pay attention to what you want to execute in the fight and the style you're going to oppose and how you're going to train to best it. And I think he still would have had that in the forefront while he was losing the weight. But, if he was one of those rare individuals that said, hey, I'm obsessed with losing my weight, I got to do this, he's not paying attention, not following the game plan, not doing what he should do to offset and beat his opponent. I think his opponent fought a hell of a fight. And I think that he did earn that victory, and obviously because they stopped. But the bottom line is he's got unanswered questions that he has to find out in himself. And that's probably better he does it now than wait 25 years.
Well, yeah. First of all, credit to fighters like Floyd Mayweather who maintained, close to fighting weight when he wasn't fighting. And let's be real, Floyd Mayweather wasn't like he was an active fighter, he maintained that weight. And I say that all the time. It's critical for fighters to do that while they're professional, while they're active. Whether they're fighting or not, they need to maintain close to their fighting weight. And I think Orlando Salido is a recent example. Now, I do believe that based on what, agreeing with you, based on his style of fighting and the wars that he has been in, how many times he's been dropped, et cetera, maybe he should reconsider the retirement. But, you can't spend a training camp working on things to lose weight. And that's what you have to do. You end up doing all of this this crazy workout stuff to lose the weight. And you're not focusing on the game plan, because if you were, you only have so many hours in a day. You only have so many times that you're training, so much time to train. So once you get around the weight where you're supposed to be, where they know that they can start to, drain you or whatever for this to weigh in, that's when you can start working on a game plan. And he admitted that, most of his training camp was focused on weight loss, and we talk about that all the time. So we'll see what happens with him.
You know what I'm afraid of with him, though? And I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. Could I have one more minute?
Sure.
All right. I'm afraid in his situation, unless he gets a rematch or unless he does something, I don't want him just to be around and thinking he's going to get to do it on his terms and wait to exit on his terms, as I said. And I'm afraid he might just be the next opponent, big name, that one of these young bucks coming up might have to face or might want to face. And that I never want to see happen to him, because he is a warrior, world class, all the way. And I don't want him to be a stepping stone for a young buck coming up.
But he's going to be.
I know that. I know that.
And the truth of the matter is that he knows it. And the reason why he's even keeping that door open, Sal, is because he wants the payday. Listen, when somebody says, listen, let's be real, okay?
Let's be realistic.
Let's
not
be
making
real
money
here.
elsewhere like this. Either.
Yeah, let's be real, all right? No disrespect to any fighter. And Orlando Salido's no different. We all agree, and Orlando Salido realized it too. He has a change of heart now because maybe his accountant said to him, "What are you, nuts?
You can pay this much taxes.
What are you nuts?
Home with this.
One of these guys are going to offer you money to get your name on their resume. Maybe in a bigger weight class, so you don't have to kill yourself in the way. He's looking for another payday. Even the rich. Floyd Mayweather has made so much money. Did he really need another $100 million? In the large scope of things, he probably had enough money to live for the rest of his life, and at the level he lives. Did he really need another $100 million to fight McGregor? No. The thing is that he had an easy.
He had to pay taxes.
He knew he had to pay taxes, but he knew it was going to be an easy fight. Why not do it? And Salido could say, well, listen, my career is over, but if somebody offers me a check with a whole bunch of zeros after it, and I could just go a couple of rounds and then check out and get that check. Why not? And that's what I think he's thinking. I hate to say it, but that's what I think he's thinking. When I saw his beautiful wife and his kids, he's got a large range of kids. Some of them looked like they were teenagers, late teens, all the way down to some younger kids. He's probably thinking, oh, geez, I got college, I got wedding. He had a couple of girls, a couple of boys, geez, I got some weddings, I got some college educations I got to pay for. Maybe another fight isn't a bad idea. That's what I'm thinking, but anyway, hey, listen, we got some emails to read. I got some other news that bothers me that we're going to touch on real quick, then get to all these emails. Then we got author Jonathan Igg joining us. He just wrote a new book on Muhammad Ali. We'll talk about that. But first, we got to take a short break, so don't go anywhere.
Billy C will be right back.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
This is important news for people who had a hip replacement and then had to have additional surgery as the result of a faulty hip implant, or were diagnosed with high levels of metal in the blood, known as metallosis. You may have a right to a cash award and medical expenses. If you have been diagnosed with high levels of metal in your blood or have required more surgery because of hip implant failure, call the law offices of Davis & Crump right now. Our first consultation is free, and we don't get paid unless you get paid. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Talking Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
Undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And, Sal, I'm watching you on the camera, and you love that. You love that little bit that when I forced poor Jeremy to go in there and take the shots from Tyson just as me, right?
I love it. You got a stunt double, I'll tell you.
Hey, well,
that's a great commercial. I love that commercial.
When you're Billy C., you do that kind of stuff. But anyway, Terrence Crawford. Now this. We were just talking about Teddy Atlas and the fight between Manny Pacquiao and Jeff Horn. And Jeff Horn just fought a slug the other day. Oh, no disrespect to his opponent, but he fought a guy that, I quite honestly should have taken out sooner. But he didn't. He won via 11th round knockout over Gary Cochran the other day. They're actually re-showing that fight on ESPN. But he defended his WBA belt. It was announced yesterday. Well, it might have been, it was announced yesterday that the WBO has made Terrence Crawford the mandatory title challenger for Jeff Horn's WBO World Welterweight title. Now, Crawford, is a pound-for-pound top fighter. There's no question about it. And I have no problem with him fighting for a title. But here's my problem. I do have a little
voice in your head.
This past summer, Terrence Crawford, who was one of my favorite fighters, became the first undisputed world champion in more than 15 years when he was the undisputed world junior welterweight champion, and relinquished his titles after that and said he will be moving up to welterweight. He has not fought one fight at welterweight yet, Sal. Not one. Hasn't had a tune-up fight. I don't even know if he's ever stepped on the scale at 147 yet. But yet he gets a fast track to fight for the world title without fighting one fight at that weight class. I disagree with that, only because it deters other young fighters who've been working hard in the gym and bypassing them for a shot for a guy that, arguably a pound-for-pound fighter. You could even make the argument that he's number one. What's your thoughts?
You know my thoughts. My thoughts are going to be this. My thoughts are that Jeff Horn should have a mandatory against the number one ranked welterweight in his division there, and Terrence Crawford should fight on the same card one of those guys ranked in the top 10, and then they could seriously negotiate a title fight between the two of them afterwards if they both come out as the winners. That's what I think, and that's my thoughts. Thank you very much.
I mean, it should be somebody else, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think Terrence Crawford should fight somebody ranked in the top 10 of the welterweight division. And I think that Jeff Horn should make a title defense against who was the next in line before Terrence Crawford threw his towel in and said, hey, I'm going to go to become a welterweight. Horn should fight the number one ranked contender in his division, and on the same card have Terrence Crawford fight anybody else ranked in that top 10. And then they could talk about a championship fight between the two of them afterwards if they both win. That's what I think.
Well, listen, I love Terrence Crawford, but
me too.
I
think getting a pass on a fast track, like you just said, it kind of slaps a little bit of the guys working hard to get up there real fast. So, like I said, I think they got to make concessions or they got to do something. But I would rather see Jeff Horn fight the number one ranked contender who was there before Crawford entered that division, and I mean, I can't say it enough. And then have Crawford fight anybody else ranked in that top 10. That's all.
Yeah, I would like to see him fight any welterweight just once,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Get used to getting hit by a welterweight, all that stuff. Got some emails. This first one's from my man Jesse. He says, hey, Billy C. and Sal. Rigondeaux had no answer for Lomachenko, and he quit. It was a big disappointment. The fight was boring. Lomachenko should not fight no more small guys. Lomachenko versus Burchout, Machado, Linares, Ray Beltran, or more importantly, Mikey Garcia. I don't care if he's supposedly too big. Take the risk like Rigo did. It won't be that much of a difference. The main thing is to give the fans the fights. I don't know. Mikey Garcia, 135, Mikey Garcia against Lomachenko. I'm sure the Lomachenko-Mikey Garcia fight is one that they're talking about. I just personally think Mikey Garcia is too big. I think Lomachenko's already moved up. I don't know. Maybe if I saw him standing next to... I mean, Mikey Garcia, I don't know. I love Mikey Garcia.
I'll tell you what. Yeah,
I love the fight,
but, he's a good fighter, and I know you don't want to see Lomachenko put a spanking on him, and I'm not saying he will. I'm saying that it would be a good fight, but it's like Clint Eastwood used to say, a man's got to know his limitations. And you know what? That's part of what the fight can go about. You don't know your limitations. You don't realize it, and you do reach for the golden ring at every chance you get. That's what you do. You challenge yourself. However, I think that as a junior lightweight, Lomachenko could wear that title for as long as he wants. And we know too many other fighters, such as Manny Pacquiao, who really chomped at the bit one, maybe two times too often and kept, what was he, a flyweight, bantamweight, and then he's a featherweight, then he's a junior lightweight, then he's a lightweight, then he's a welterweight. There's almost just so much that a frame could carry a span of 40 pounds or so, where it's going to start affecting your skill set, your level, your speed, and other things. And I think, Manny Pacquiao is a good example of that.
Well,
and I praise him for what he did, but he kept, going weight class after weight class after weight class. And yes, he set a world record. Was he 5-time divisional world champion? Multi-divisional world champion?
Eight. But I got to move on. I got to move on.
Every 3 pounds.
Got to move on because we got a bunch of emails. And I can't help but notice that your impressions all sound like Michael Corleone. But anyway, Jesse, and by the way, I don't think that Lomachenko will put a beating on Mikey Garcia.
No.
I don't think that.
I don't think so.
But anyway, he says, here's my picks over the weekend. David Lemieux over Billy Saunders in a decision. Jesse Vargas over Aaron Herrera in the decision. Ulysses over Selden in a split decision. Diego Chavez over James in a unanimous decision. Molina knocking out Reddick. Freddie Hernandez knocking out Wale Omotosu. And Diego De La Hoya beating Jose Salgado or unanimous decision. He says now that Horn won, this should set up a horrible fight against Crawford. Crawford is going to destroy him. Did they not just want Crawford to destroy Manny? That's why they never made this fight. I don't know. I would have rather have seen Manny fight Terrence Crawford than Terrence Crawford fighting Jeff Horn. I'm not a big fan of Jeff Horn. I mean, no disrespect to Jeff. I love the fact that I love when underdogs win. I just don't think he's that talented. He was just bigger, and I think Manny took that fight lightly. Manny doesn't seem to really be into the sport anymore, in my opinion.
No, he's got other things on his plate. He's got other things that he wants to do, and I can't speak for him, but I'll tell you what. I think unless you're going to take this as a priority and make it your number one thing to do, you can't let other things get into your psyche and interfere. And I think being involved with politics.
Got emails. We got emails. I got to get through. Go. The next point he says is, I think getting rid of Teddy Atlas is a big mistake. Who are possible guys that should replace him? Delvin Rodriguez does a good job on Spanish, ESPN version. I don't think who they got in place should replace him, but we agree with you. Atlas, getting rid of Atlas was a big mistake. Next email, this is from my man Augie out of Riverhead, New York. Augie used to call in when I open up the phone lines, a longtime listener from what I can recall. He says, hey, Billy C., how come nobody ever mentions that Vasily Lomachenko has no power? Manny Pacquiao versus Lomachenko 15 years ago, who would have won? First of all, I agree with Augie. Lomachenko doesn't seem to have much pop. Accumulation gets his knockouts. He's definitely not a one-punch knockout guy. I think his movement, generally fighters that have a lot of knockout power, Sal, they plant their feet before they can knock people out, right?
Well, they're set. They sit on their punches and they deliver them. They execute them. It's not just an arm punch. It comes from the foot, the knee, the twist, the torque, the trunk. It's a whole delivery, and you do it fast, efficiently, and you have heavy hands. And I admit I don't think that Lomachenko has those heavy hands, but he's on his feet, he's on his toes, he moves around a lot, and sometimes you trade off power for finesse and stuff, and unless somebody really tries to school him and says, hey, you got to deliver, you got to get the leverage, you got to do this, you got to do that, and punch through the target. Well, guess what? Then he's going to lose some other aspect of his game. You got trade-offs, and I think where he is in his skill set level right now, he's having a world of success. So why fix something that's not really broken?
I agree.
Wins, okay?
No, I agree. As far as Manny Pacquiao against Lomachenko 15 years ago, I wish we had the time machine 15 years ago. If you're talking lightweight, 135. Manny Pacquiao, what made him so exciting was he was just an arsenal. He just was a total offense. But I think Lomachenko's movement would have given him some trouble. What I would have liked to have seen how Lomachenko dealt with the speed of Manny Pacquiao in his prime, and the most important thing that Manny Pacquiao did so well was he threw punches from crazy angles, and you never knew where they were coming from, and they never came from the same place, and it would be an interesting dream matchup for sure. Thanks for the email, Augie. It was nice to hear from you. Another email, this one's from Johnston. He says, hey, Billy C. and Sal, I'm really looking forward to the fight between Saunders and Lemieux this weekend, and I think we could be in for a surprise. We didn't even break this fight down yet. I think we should be in for a surprise. He says, last week I would have said Lemieux by knockout, but now I've had to rethink. Firstly, the shock defeat of James DeGale suffered against Caleb Truex last week could actually be a wake-up call for Saunders. I believe that DeGale lost the fight. Truex never won it. I mean that with the greatest respect to Truex because he deserves the credit for his victory, but DeGale looked beyond his opponent, was thinking and talking far too much about his next fights. Saunders has been guilty of this himself in the past, but he managed to scrap victories, albeit poor performances. I think Saunders can learn from last week on how important it is to concentrate on one opponent at a time. Lemieux is no Truex, granted, but he's beatable and will only look to knock Billy Joe's block off with that dangerous left. Lemieux is also looking beyond Saunders, and he believes a win is guaranteed, but he can't knock out what he can't hit. Secondly, Dominic Ingle is a smart guy, excellent coach, and he's a perfect match with Billy Joe Saunders. They have spent a chunk of their training camp at the Sheffield Holman University, where they have brought in sports scientists as part of their training program to give Billy Joe an extra 15%. Sports science is something that is used in many other sports, but boxing has only just started to introduce it. Whether it will make a difference or not remains to be seen, but using this technology we have today is not a bad thing. Lastly, take that mixture of Dominic Ingle, the sports science program, and a clear mentality. I think we are going to see the fittest Saunders we've ever seen, physically and mentally. Therefore, I am going for Billy Joe Saunders to defeat Lemieux by points, with his footwork and reflexes being the key. Either that or he'll be cheated out of victory because he's the traveling fighter. Something I hate, but it's the nature of the game, as it's always been. Interesting. And when I finally do get to break down the fight, I'm going to be mentioning some similar things like that, Sal, because I think Billy Joe Saunders, and I'm guilty of it, is a guy that we've all just poo-pooed, taken for granted. But when I break down the fight a little bit later, you're going to see that he's had some tough fights in the early stages of his career, something that Lemieux didn't have. So it's going to boil down to power versus finesse, I think, and we'll see what happens. I got two more emails. This one is from Joel. He says, I got a question for you, Sal. He says, Sal, I always notice in boxing it never seems you're fully retired from the sport, no matter what level of an athlete you are. Either you get the fire to return to the ring or you get offered big money you were once earning isn't coming in anymore. Or he's saying, or the big money you were once earning isn't coming in anymore, and you need to get some kind of income to pay your bills and support your family. Did you have a retirement plan from the start that would open up your own business when you began your pro boxing career, or did you come up with your plan towards the end of your career before you left the sport in 1988? Curious if you could give us some backstory on that. As long as Billy allows you to take a trip down memory lane, because I want to hear. I don't want you to take too long down memory lane. I'll tell you that right now. And he says, how important do you feel it is that athletes come up with a plan to earn their income after they retire from boxing or any other sport? Have a great weekend, guys. Yeah, short and quick answer, please, Sal. We got another email to get in.
I can't. That's impossible.
Well,
I need a whole half hour, but
don't make me
I'll try
hit the button.
consolidate it.
All right.
All right.
You're on.
I look at.
Thanks for your comments. We're moving on now. No.
Joel, that's a great question, man. Loaded question, and I think it does warrant a good answer. And when you start out, you map out your career. And the other one that really talked to me about what he wanted to do, where he saw me, was Richie Giacchetti, who was a world-class trainer and classic manager of Larry Holmes and things. And Richie outlined a plan. And had I stayed with Richie, or when I left Richie, and if I went with another fighter that wanted to, another manager that wanted to take me, I probably would have had more of an opportunity to do than what I just did. But it's hard to say. Yes, my goals were different when I was a young buck coming up. Yeah, I saw the opportunity of being a world champion. I saw maybe parlaying it into an acting career or doing other things and carrying on and living a wonderful life. But yeah, as you get older, as you mature, and as you really have reality set in, and you get some words of advice, and you're going to have to do something after you finish fighting, and you didn't make the right moves along the way, so you go to plan B. And it was looking like I was faced with having to make decisions on plan B. And fortunately enough, I had the support of my father, who guided me in small business and gave me some opportunities to springboard me into waking up and looking at really what I wanted to do for careers. And I took my passion, my heart, and my intense nature, and I just refocused it into a canvas of making a profitable business happen. And that's me. I'm still the fighter within my heart. I still go for the golden ring. I still fight every day. I want to be the best. I am the best. And I have that passion to be the best. And I do that. I exercise it in the business world or whatever I have to do. So you never really let go. You never really die as a fighter because you're still that fighter inside. It's just how you can find the canvas or where you can express and where you can find progress and goals that can satisfy you, because there is no other thing. No, I would go back in the ring tomorrow. You have no idea. You have no idea. It's just because it's just an unsettled, burning desire, and there's nothing better I like than to get in a fight.
You know, the truth of the matter is this is what I always talk about. You know, back in the day, fighters would go through their career. You know, they would become an amateur. They would turn pro. They would fight their career, however successful or non-successful they were. But they stayed in the sport. The boxing was a trade, and they would be a promoter, a manager, a gym owner, something like that. And the end result was we had all these boxing people involved in the sport. Today, it's not like that. You know, they try to do a cash out and they walk away. I've talked to many fighters that don't even follow the sport. You know, but one thing I will touch on before I get into this other email that Joel brought up was the fact that today, you know, with the advancement of how we are and how we live, I think any athlete, whether it's boxing, baseball, football, basketball, hockey, whatever, when they turn pro, they should consider what's going to happen when their playing days or fighting days are over and make some kind of exit plan for that day, because it's going to happen, and it happens quicker than you realize. But great email.
Yes.
One last one. This one's from my man, Coach. He says, hey, Billy C., yesterday, boxing again proved it's a WWE. No, it doesn't concern Deontay, Toro Wilder, and Luis Ortiz post-fight planned entertainment, but official removal of longtime ESPN analyst Teddy Atlas. Atlas, love him or hate him, for his aggressive, maybe even abrasive style, was fired for speaking out about the judges' scoring in the Pacquiao-Horn bout and questioning journalist co-analyst Mark Kriegel's credentials while at the Jose Ramirez fight last month. Entertainment winning out over sport. I always loved the way the sport entertained. Pure, raw, mano-a-mano competition with the always potential for the agony of defeat. Now we just have the agony of Stephen A. Smith and I guess color man Mark Kriegel. I can't agree with Coach anymore, Sal.
Coach,
I mean,
he said it.
You know, it's true, and I think that, you know, we've become a society that is so afraid of, you know, offending someone that it offends everyone. I mean, if you can't goof around, you know, one of the most beautiful things in life is when you can goof around with other people, regardless of their race, their color, their religious beliefs, or whatever, and, you know, equally share a joke, even if it's at, you know, my expense or your expense or somebody else's. As long as everybody's doing it in fun, I don't think there's a problem with that. But everybody's become such a bunch of wimps, and you know, we've become so fragile. I mean, if you told me, Sal, and I know this is a serious subject, but if you told me 30 years ago, 20 years ago, that people, kids specifically, that make fun of each other, hey, you're fat, hey, you know, your mother sews socks that smell, you know, they make fun of each other, would go home and commit suicide because they couldn't take the bullying, I would laugh at you. You know, I mean, bullying, when I played football in high school, they would take when you know, I was constantly looking over my shoulder when I was a freshman, when I went into high school, because typically the football team, the seniors, would take the freshmen, you know, grab them, pull them out, put them out of wedgie my ass. They used to strip. They used to take your clothes. They used to take your clothes and put you in the trunk of a car and drive you somewhere with no clothes and let you out, and you had to walk home with no clothes on. You know, today they'd call that kidnapping. You know. So, and I'm not saying that was right, but my point is that you overcome it. Like you and I have talked, our parents told us sticks and stones will break your bones, but names will never hurt you. Today, you call somebody a name. You don't even have to call it to their face. You call it to them on the internet, and they go home and they commit suicide. It's horrific, Sal.
It is. And you know what? It really, I can't say I don't agree with bullying. I don't endorse it. I don't do it. But you know what? In a sense, like you said, we were raised in a whole different generation era. We were raised with sticks and stones can't break my bones, but names will never hurt me or harm me. And you know what? As kids, when our generation, what we had to face every day. There was bullying. There was getting guys that beating you up or doing this and doing that, older guys, and you couldn't hang with these kids or that kid because this guy. There were things. But guess what? We didn't always run home to our parents to help us fight our battles. We had to figure it out and stand and learn the trade-offs in life and learn what's going on. And that's what I remember, That's the truth of the matter. We had to fend for ourselves. And it made us tougher. It made us evolve. And, I'm not saying every case scenario. And there are people that were scarred. There are people that did respond differently. And that people that did grow up with different versions or different perspectives of life. But, all in all, we did fend for ourselves in the 60s and 70s, and we did evolve and learn, and we lived, and we found out where we were wrong. We found out where we could slide. It was just a whole different era. And I agree with you, Bill. Today, it hurts and it's disgusting when I hear and see the bullying that goes on, but how these kids are so frail and fragile that they want to go home and kill themselves because somebody said they're fat or something else. It's just not a healthy situation all around. No,
it's not. And, it just goes to show you, how fragile of a society that we've become, really. And it's a shame. It's a shame. But listen, we're going to take a break here. We have scheduled an author of a new book, Muhammad Ali. It's another Muhammad Ali book. It's called Ali, and Jonathan Higg is the author, and we're scheduled to have him come on and talk to us for a few minutes about the book. Sales have been going great, and when we come back, we want to talk about what we started to talk about at the beginning of the show, which was over an hour ago, but. Billy Joe Saunders is putting his WBO World Middleweight Championship on the line this weekend against David Lemieux. It's a fight that I can't wait to see. I think it's going to be an entertaining fight. And if you would have asked me, a week ago or longer, who was going to win this fight, and Sal and I have already talked about this many, many times, I would have just said, David Lemieux is going to destroy him. I'm not so sure now. Billy Joe Saunders, I've had a chance to get to know him in a sense in terms of his previous fights and his ride up. And I'm going to break it down and give you my official prediction in a little while. So hopefully you have some thoughts on it too. I know that you and I were talking before we went on air.
Yes.
That you had a chance to review some of his fights, most recent fights anyway. And
yes.
Interesting guy, Billy Joe Saunders. And David Lemieux, well, he's well documented, but like one of the emails we got today, could he be overlooking Billy Joe Saunders? And just quite frankly, could Billy Joe Saunders be overlooking him, David Lemieux? Both of these guys have so much at stake with the big fight that is looming for the winner. And like I suggested yesterday, Sal, we could actually end up with 4 fights. We could have this fight. We could have the rematch between Canelo and Triple G. Then the 2 winners fight each other, and the 2 losers fight each other, and then the winner of the 2 losers fights the winner of the 2 winners. Ah, God,
that's what I call a round robin.
I tell you what, it's a round middleweight division. But Sal, we're going to kick you to the curb for a few. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're scheduled to have Jonathan Higg join us. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back. In a couple.
Billy C will be right back.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000, has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American Warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Hey, fight fans, check out KOFantasyBoxing.com. KO Fantasy Boxing is boxing's only trademarked fantasy game. Check it out, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Select your own gym, your own fighters, track them through a season that can last from 3 months to a year, depending upon which league you join. You got to check this out, man, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. Join it today. Again, www.KOFantasyBoxing.com. And tell them Billy C sent ya.
The one, the only, Don King.
Makes me feel good, Billy, to have you, the #1 show in the country, talking boxing with Billy. So I invite each and every American that's listening to this great show to tune in, because we want you to be there with Billy and me.
Now back to Talking Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
The undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talking Boxing with Billy C.
Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us today. And at the beginning of the show, I was talking about a new book that was put out. It's called Ali. And although there's been a lot of books written on Muhammad Ali, this one is a bit unique. It was written by Jonathan Ig. And joining us right now is the author of this book. Good morning, Jonathan.
Good morning. How are you?
Not too bad. We don't have your video, so as soon as you can click that, I can get you on. But we hear you fine and all of that. First and foremost, my first question for you is this. There we go. My first question is this for you, John. First of all, am I pronouncing your last name correctly? Because I'm the murderer of the English language.
It's Eig.
Eig. Okay, I'm sorry about that, my man. Jonathan Eig. First and foremost, like I said, there's been a lot of books written on Muhammad Ali. What made you decide to write this one?
Well, I love Ali. I love a lot of the books that were written about him, but nobody had done the complete biography yet. Nobody had looked at his whole life in an objective way. Tom Hauser's book is great, but it's also written with Ali's approval. So, Ali and his management team decided what did and didn't go in that book in the end. So I wanted to really take an unauthorized, objective look at it. And also, 50 years had gone by, so you could put some of these things in perspective now. You could look at his whole life with a historical perspective, I thought.
While you were doing the research on this book and putting it together and stuff, did you find out things about Ali that readers can find in this book that they have never heard or seen or were told before?
I think there's a lot of things. I think people are going to find in every chapter, even hardcore boxing lovers, boxing fans, Ali fans, are going to find things in every chapter they had no idea. I think there were things in this book that Ali didn't even know. I found out that his grandfather was a convicted murderer, for example. Nobody had ever known that before outside the family. And even Ali didn't know that. I worked with CompuBox. We counted every punch round by round that Ali took in the course of his career, so I can tell you every round of every fight, how many punches were thrown and how many landed. I studied the effects of all those punches on his speaking ability and confirmed what Ferdy Pacheco told me, that Ali started showing signs of brain damage as early as 1971. That's just a few of the things. There's a ton of new material in this book.
I want to. Well, first of all, I'm fascinated about the convicted murder. I had never heard that before, but I want to jump to the brain damage topic. I'm totally off my scripted questions for you, John. So you got me interested here right off the bat. I've done a little research on what we used to call pugilistic dementia and et cetera, and one of the things that I had learned was that people that come down with Parkinson's, which is not to be confused, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's not to be confused with pugilistic dementia. I know that they've come up with something now called what is it? I forget what they call it, but it's something that begins the process. People that have Parkinson's, like, say, for example, Michael J. Fox, he never took a punch, but he got it. Is it true to say, Parkinsonism is what they were referring to it. Right. Is it true to say that a guy or anybody could come down with Parkinson, but if you chose to be a fighter and take those shots, that it would expedite the disease? Or is there? I mean, did you find that there was any connection there? You follow what I'm saying?
I talked to the doctor who diagnosed Ali, who first said Ali had Parkinson's, and he said that there's two different things: Parkinson's syndrome and Parkinson's disease. And Parkinson's disease is what Michael J. Fox and Janet Reno had. It's just bad luck. You get it because it's something in your DNA that sets this off. But in Ali's case, he felt like it was almost certainly caused by the punches. And you can't be 100% certain without an autopsy. But this guy and many others I talked to said Ali clearly showed signs, and scans of his brain, MRIs, suggest that there was definitely damage from those punches. And what the difference is that the effects on Ali are symptoms that resemble Parkinson's disease. That's why they call it Parkinsonism or Parkinson's syndrome. It's symptoms that mimic Parkinson's disease, but it's not the same thing as Parkinson's disease. That's what this doctor told me.
What impact, in your opinion, what impact did Muhammad Ali? Now, this could be, based on what you unfolded in your research and putting together this very complete book. Or what you know about him as a boxing fan. What impact do you feel that he made on the sport of boxing?
Oh man, it's so wide, it's so big. First of all, he was just a different kind of a heavyweight. There had never been a heavyweight who fought the way he did. And obviously he modeled himself after Sugar Ray Robinson and wanted to be quick and elusive, not just a big hitter. And that changed the sport. And but I think more importantly, he changed all of sport by showing that athletes could stand up for what they believed in politically, religiously, that they could use this platform to do more than talk about boxing. Jackie Robinson came along, he integrated baseball, but he didn't feel comfortable yet using baseball as a platform to talk about other things. And eventually, Robinson, when he retired, spoke out. But Ali came along and said, as long as I'm the heavyweight champ, I don't have to do what you expect me to do anymore. I don't have to be what you want me to be. And he changed the world in that way more than he changed boxing.
He changed for one of the things, and I laugh because one of the things that he changed in the sport of boxing for the worse, and hear me out on this, is the fact that Muhammad Ali was so proficient at promoting himself, promoting the fights, his lip, Louis the Lip, he was talking smack and everything. And, the difference with Ali is, he backed up what he said. And he said it in an entertaining way. He gained recognition from it. He sold tickets from it. But at the end of the day, he backed up all the shenanigans he was saying. Whether he was serious, whether he was fooling around, however he was perceived, he backed it up. Today, it's evolved. That, what I call Muhammad Ali smack talk, has evolved into everybody talking smack. I'm going to do this. When I get you in the ring, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get you, I'm going to do that. And then the bell rings. And we don't see any of that, Yeah. And the difference was we saw that with Ali. What do you contribute that to? Where did these guys today fall off the wagon, so to speak?
Well, something works, everybody has to imitate it. That's why you get lots of musicians who aren't as good as the original, right? Everybody wants to be what worked the last time. So everybody's copying Ali, and everybody thinks you gotta get in the face of your opponent the way Ali did, first against Sonny Liston and then, so many times over and over. And it worked for Ali because, A, he was just a great personality and he had this great charisma. And also because, like you said, he backed it up. He could fight. But now everybody has to do it all the time. And it's just showmanship and it just gets stupid after a while. But it's what the fans have come to expect. And it's not just in boxing. It's in all sports. You got these guys who feel like they have to show off how tough they are, and it's all mouth and no all talk and no action most of the time.
Yeah, but Muhammad Ali at least did sell tickets. Today, I think the fan is so used to the BS, so to speak, from these fighters spewing out, at press conferences and stuff like that. And I ask that all the time on my show. Do you really think that that's selling extra tickets? I know Muhammad Ali sold tickets by doing it. But do you think that copycat approach is actually working, or are they just going through the motions?
Yeah, I think often it just becomes white noise. The fans are used to it. So unless something, ridiculous happens, it doesn't stand out, it doesn't get any attention.
What was the best part for you during the research of this book? I mean, I know you already told us about the finding out that he had a convicted murderer in his family, but was there anything else that really stands out that made it, for you personal, a big asset and something that you learned?
Well, the most fun part for me was getting to talk to and meet a lot of these boxers and guys who hung around Ali, getting to hang out with Larry Holmes and George Foreman and Don King. Gene Kilroy, Ali's personal manager. I spent a lot of time with these guys and just getting to know them and also with Ali's wives, really getting to know them and getting to see what it was like to be around Ali. I obviously wasn't there. I wasn't traveling with him like some of these reporters were in the 70s and 80s. I was too young, but this is the closest I could get, and it was fabulous to have that experience of getting to know these guys and getting past the bullshit, getting to talk to them long enough where they were honest about Ali, including, talking about the things they didn't like about him. When you do the first round of interviews, all you get is, he was the greatest, I loved him, he taught me everything, but once you get past that a little bit and you spend more time with them, you get more honest responses and you get to hear the warts and all.
One of the things that when I talk about Muhammad Ali or reminisce about him or compare him, or anytime his name comes up, I always have a tendency to come back and say, well, because I'm old enough to have watched him, as a kid fighting, and basically it was like this. Sometimes you loved Muhammad Ali, and sometimes you hated him. He was the good guy sometimes and the bad guy sometimes. But as time went on and his career ended, and we all got to know Muhammad Ali, the humanitarian or the ambassador, that outlook has changed. And today, when you mention Muhammad Ali, everyone loves him. I mean, there's no hating him anymore. What do you contribute that to? I mean, first of all, do you agree with me? And second of all, what do you contribute it to? Are people just forgetting the impact he made, or have times changed that much that they're just focusing on the positive and no negatives?
I agree with you completely, and I think it's unfortunate, actually, because, we've turned Ali into this sort of a saint, as if, and I think it's because of the illness. He couldn't talk for the last 20 years or so, and that means we get to, put whatever we want on him. We think that he's all-knowing, that he's wise, that he's benevolent, that he's this, sort of a wise man up on the mountain, and he knows all, and that's ridiculous. He was a flawed person. He made mistakes. He was human, and he could be an idiot. He could be a jerk sometimes, and I think we shouldn't think of him as this saintly figure. We should remember him for being the badass that he was, the tough guy. That in the 60s is when he challenged us to think differently about race, to think differently about boxing. When he was loud and obnoxious, that's when he was his greatest. I think not the wise old man who lit the Olympic torch. That's not what really made him great.
Speaking of the Olympic torch, it was much documented the conflict that he had with Joe Frazier. And, Joe Frazier, unfortunately, checked out a little too soon in life himself, and never really forgave Muhammad Ali for the treatment that he feels he received. And Muhammad Ali, at first started as promotion. There was well-documented connection between the two. Joe Frazier actually helped him when his exile ended, and et cetera, et cetera. Were there any regrets that you uncovered from Muhammad Ali that if he had the chance to maybe deal with Joe Frazier in a different way? I mean, because although they did say they kind of buried the hatchet, it never really did. Joe Frazier left this world still not feeling too good about Muhammad Ali. And Muhammad Ali never really, at least that I saw or heard, never really, kind of talked about that. I mean, did you uncover anything along those lines?
I agree with you. Ali never really, as far as I can tell, made a genuine, face-to-face apology. And he was a guy who just thought that whatever he did was right. He was Muhammad Ali, so if I say this is the way to go, this is the way to go. Same thing with Malcolm X. He really treated Malcolm X terribly during the last year of Malcolm's life. And when Malcolm begged him to step in and try to prevent the assassination, to speak up on his behalf and get the assassins off his back, Ali wouldn't do it. Ali turned his back on Malcolm X. He treated Joe Frazier, his friend, just miserably when he knew it was hurting Frazier, when he knew it was hurting Frazier's children. He just kept piling it on. He could be really cruel, and maybe you have to have that cruel streak in you somewhere to be a great fighter. I don't know, but that doesn't mean you have to go to your grave without ever apologizing. And Ali expressed some regrets, but I don't know that he ever genuinely apologized to Frazier. And Frazier's son, Marvis, is still angry about it. It hurt, I think, hurt the whole family.
Now it's interesting because not the hurt part, but it's interesting because Ali, the gorilla, the toy gorilla. I mean, the Uncle Tom comments. I mean, all those things. It started out as promotional tactics, John, and I just feel, and obviously I have no connection to it, but I honestly feel at some point all it would have taken is Ali to say, "Hey, Joe, I'm promoting the fight," and it's like he got it, he carried on, and he almost felt, and this is me assuming, but he almost felt, and I'm talking about Ali, that he had to keep this charade up, and didn't know when to say when. I mean, did you see something along those lines?
Yeah, and it's, I have to wonder, did he really believe that it was giving him an edge in the ring, that it was going to make Frazier feel the pressure, or did Ali need to do it for himself to psych himself up? I don't really know. He never treated his white opponents that way. It was only the black guys. He called George Foreman a mummy and insulted his intelligence, and same thing with Sonny Liston. Calling him too stupid, too ugly to be the heavyweight champ. He was much harder on his black opponents than he was on his white opponents, and some of the guys around Ali speculated on that. They thought maybe it was because Ali felt insecure, that he wasn't out of the ghetto. He wasn't as tough a street kid as George Foreman was. Maybe he felt some insecurity and felt like he needed to prop himself up when he psyched himself up for these fights with these guys. I don't know. That's just one theory, I guess.
Huh. It's almost along the lines of Jack Johnson. The late great Jack Johnson was similar in a sense where he was vicious. It was similar but opposite. He was vicious to the white opponents and carried the black opponents. But
right.
Never wanted to give the black opponent the chance because he saw it as a financial gain to fight the white guys. So. But anyway, any final thoughts on writing the book, John, that you feel that potential readers need to know before they buy it?
I think it's important that they know that this is not another one of these books that is just out to make him out to be a saint, and I wasn't out to take him down either. I wanted to be as fair as I could, to treat him like the important, historical figure that he was. I interviewed more than 250 people for this book. I interviewed all 3 of his living wives. I interviewed his brother and his, I covered everything I possibly could. I dug up new FBI records on Ali, and I want this to be the book that people will look at for decades to come as the best way to really understand this guy. And I think I understand him a lot better now than I did when I began the project 5 years ago.
How's Rahman doing? I haven't seen him. I actually promoted his Muhammad Ali's nephew, Ibn Ali, and Rahman's son, and we had Rahman and Jimmy Ellis come to several of our events. I mean, I haven't talked to him in several years. How's he doing?
Not so great. I mean, he's a sweet guy, but he's lost his memory, and he's not doing that well financially. He didn't get anything, or he didn't get much, as far as I can tell, out of the will, and he's living in public housing. He's on food stamps. So if anybody's in Louisville and can help Rahman, he could use a little help.
Wow, I didn't even know that. Thanks for the update on that. It's unfortunate that happened. I mean, obviously he didn't have this success inside the ring as his brother did, but you would have thought that there would have been some connection. They didn't have any falling out, right?
No, Ali loved his brother. And told him all his life, don't worry, I got you covered. You're never going to have to work. I'll take care of you. But when Ali got sick and was kind of not capable of making decisions anymore, I think Rahman fell away a little bit, fell out of the picture, and he's been struggling for a while now. And for a while he was working at that Ali museum. They turned his house, Ali's childhood home, into a museum, and Rahman was working there for a little while, but that closed. So he's hurting, I think.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Well, Jonathan, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know we had some scheduling issues. We had tried to have you on earlier, and my bad on one of those, and I apologize for that. And we hope that we can have you back on in the future. I know the book is doing well, and you've gotten some great reviews. So I'm going to put the book right here for you guys to see.
Thanks.
It's Ali. And you can get it. Where can they get it? I mean, obviously they can get it on, Amazon or whatever. But is there any other place? Can they get it directly from you? Signed copies? Where do you want?
If you go to my website, it'll tell you how to get signed copies, and it's in all the bookstores. You should be able to find it at your local independent store, at Barnes and Noble, wherever you like to shop. But if you want a signed copy, it's not too late to get them for Christmas, Hanukkah. Just go to my website and you can, and there's instructions there on how to get a signed copy.
Give out your website, my man.
JonathanIke.com or Ali the Book, if that's easier to remember. AliTheBook.com.
Sounds good, my man. Listen, you have a great holiday. Again, I appreciate the time, and we look forward to having you on again.
Anytime.
All right,
Thanks.
man. Take care. That's Jonathan Eig. Here's the book again. I'll show it to you. and make sure you guys get yourself a copy. It was a great read, and I think you'll enjoy it. So make sure you get out there and get yourself a copy as soon as you can. Listen, big fight this weekend coming up that I wanted to talk about. We got Billy Joe Saunders going up against David Lemieux. The fight is taking place in Canada. Unfortunately, I won't be there, but I am definitely going to be watching it. It's a fight that I've been looking forward to for quite some time. We got my man Sal back on the line, almost ready, and here he is ready now. So let's take a look at this fight, and we'll break it down and give you our predictions. I know that we've tried to do this a lot earlier in the show, but we didn't get a chance to do it. So for all the networks, we will not be taking a break at our normal time. We're just going to break down this fight, give you our predictions, and let it go at that. But first and foremost, Billy Joe Saunders. He's the WBO World Middleweight Champion. The computer sees him at number 6 in the world. He's a southpaw, 5'11" in height. He's got a record of 25 wins, 12 coming by knockout, no losses. He's an undefeated fighter. He's fought 163 rounds from the start of his career, which started out in 2009. Now, something I talked about earlier in the week was when I started researching him for this fight, one thing that stuck out is the amount of experienced fighters that Billy Joe Saunders fought at the beginning of his professional career. Something that a lot of fighters do not do, especially United States fighters. His pro debut, he fought a guy with 30 professional fights, 12, and 6. He followed that up with a typical fight for a young fighter that you see here in the States, 2-1 guy. But his third fight against Matt Screven was a guy that had 13 wins, 52 losses, and no draws. Now, somebody would look at that and say, wow, 52 losses, what a bum. But for a fighter that's in his third professional fight, that's a big experience difference. And it definitely makes a difference. And as you look at his record, climbing after that, the amount of experienced fighters that he fought is unbelievable. He fought some experienced guys, Tony Randall, Turgay Uzun, some other, there were some normal guys. Bradley Price was a up-and-coming fighter until he started losing back-to-back fights. In 2012, Bradley Price fought Billy Joe Saunders, and Price had a record of 33-10 at the time and took Saunders the distance. He fought Gerard Fletcher, who was an up-and-coming middleweight who was undefeated in 2012, stopped him in 2. He fought Nick Blackwell, who was 12-1 in 2012, beat him. He beat Matt Hall. He beat Gary Spike O'Sullivan. These are all good fighters that he beat over the last several years. John Ryder was an undefeated fighter. Emmanuel Bladurma was an undefeated fighter, 22-0. He fought Chris Eubank Jr. in a close fight. He squeaked out a split decision win in 2014. Eubank Jr., now campaigning at super middleweight, beat him. He won the title when he fought and won a majority decision, a very close fight against Andy Lee. That he picked up the belt in 2015. He fought once in 2016, and he fought once this year against Willie Monroe Jr., obviously winning them all. The knock on Billy Joe Saunders is that he wasn't active enough, but he's a good boxer, and he breaks his opponents down. He does not possess the one-punch knockout power that his opponent, David Lemieux, possesses. And speaking of David Lemieux, he's 28 years old, same age as Billy Joe Saunders, and he's ranked one spot behind Billy Joe Saunders the way the computer sees him, at number 7. David Lemieux has given up a couple of inches in height. He's 5'9", and his record is 38 wins, 33 coming by knockout, with 3 losses, in which he lost twice. Now, when you take a look at his record, he fought typically what we see here in the States. Now, he did fight a couple of experienced guys early on, a 12-17 guy, a 14-17 guy, but for the most part, a lot of his opposition was carefully selected. I told you guys yesterday that I knew his first trainer. I still know his first trainer, Russ Amber, and they were definitely grooming him for big and better things, but they were definitely protecting him. I got to be ringside for several of his fights up at the Casino Montreal in Canada. One was Delray Reigns. Another one was Jason Nogler, which was actually a pretty interesting fight. His first real big name was Elvin Ayala. Knocked him out in the first round back in 2010. He also beat Hector Camacho Jr. And was on his way up until he fought and lost for the first time against Marco Antonio Rubio, where he was stopped in the 7th round. He ran out of gas. His conditioning was questioned. He got rid of his trainer, got another fight back-to-back with that one against Joachim Elsine, and lost that one via a majority decision. He changed his approach, started getting back to basics, retaught himself with a new trainer, new team, started fighting guys that looked good on paper, but were no threat to him. I think when he fought Marcus Upshaw in 2013, it kind of turned his career around, because from that point on, he started developing a little more in his arsenal, at least in my opinion. Fernando Guerrero was a twice-beaten guy that was a highly touted prospect. He knocked him out in 3. Gabe Rosado, one of my favorite throwback kind of fighters, knocked him out in 10 of his 12-round scheduled fight. He fought Hassam Nadam to win his world title in 2015, a 12-round decision, which set him up for his third and final loss and his second knockout loss at the hands of Triple G. And then he followed that, his last 4 fights, Glenn Tapia, Christian Fabio Rios, Curtis Stevens, and Marcos Reyes. I was ringside for the Curtis Stevens fight. I was talking to Sal off air this morning, and literally I thought he killed this guy in the 3rd round. The question that we always have about David Lemieux is, can he stay winded, so to speak, with wind, with energy? Can he not, gas out? He claims, and he's been looking a little pudgy sometimes. He claims he's over that. He claims he could have went 12 rounds with Curtis Stevens. It only took him 3. He did go 10 rounds in his last fight in May, a stay busy fight against Marcos Reyes. David Lemieux, former world champ. He won his last 4 in a row, 2 by knockout since losing to Triple G in 2015. Listen, how's this fight going to go? I'll tell you the truth. Billy Joe Saunders is a good boxer. I think if Billy Joe Saunders can control the pace, control the onslaught of David Lemieux, try and protect his body a little bit, and get David Lemieux into the later rounds, it's going to go Billy Joe Saunders' way. However, I think David Lemieux is going to get to Billy Joe Saunders. I do believe he's going to work the body. He's going to slow down Billy Joe Saunders and neutralize what Billy Joe Saunders does the best, which is outbox his opponent. I think this is going to be an interesting fight. I think it's going to start off fast. I think it's going to have a middle rounds of a little slow down action. And then I think that the power of David Lemieux, and I'm assuming that he's in good shape, I think the power and the fact that he's going to be in, arguably the best shape of his career, I think that he's going to wear down Billy Joe Saunders and ultimately win this fight by a late round stoppage. I'm officially predicting David Lemieux to win this fight and move on and fight the winner of Triple G, Canelo Alvarez. Sal Rocky Senacola, what's your thoughts and predictions on this fight?
Just what you said. Let me tell you something. I do not hide the fact I am a big David Lemieux fan. Do I think he could beat anybody and everybody out there? Maybe not. But do I think he does give it his all and he can turn around a fight with his awesome power? Yes, I do. I think that he has improved steadily over the last 2 or 3 years, certainly from the last time he fought Triple G, the only time he fought Triple G. Would I expect a different fight if he got back in the ring with Triple G? I don't know. We'd have to see. But the bottom line is, I looked at Chris Eubank Jr. I didn't know him that well. And I saw him fight. I mean, I saw Billy Joe Saunders fight against Chris Eubank Jr. and Willie Monroe. And at times, I'm going to have to say this, I thought Billy Joe Saunders almost at sometimes looked a little bit more average than I thought. Willie Monroe they were both southpaws, and Willie Monroe stuck him with the jab almost at will. And it was his lack of jabbing that I think cost him the fight, because that was a winning thing for him. And I think he just didn't go after Billy Joe Saunders the way I thought he could have. Billy Joe Saunders looks fundamentally sound. He's a boxer. As we said, he does not have that one-punch power, but he can dismantle you time after time, round after round. I don't see one thing exceptional from Billy Joe Saunders. I think he's a good, solid boxer. I think he's a good opponent. I think he could take take some punishment. He takes a good shot. But ultimately, I'm telling you what, David Lemieux has learned a lot over the last 2 years. And yes, I do question sometimes his conditioning. And the fact sometimes even though he wins, he does come into the ring with a little thick skin on him. Does that help or hurt? I don't know. He doesn't have to be defined like an atlas to get the job done. There are many fighters out there that just have an average-looking body and physique, but guess what? They could get the job done anytime. I think that he definitely possesses the power that can end a fight at any time. And David Lemieux also knows how to finish a fight when he has him hurt, when he has a fighter hurt. He can finish a fighter. I am going to say that with everything considered and everything being equal, I don't see this fight being equal. I see it being competitive. I see it being good. I see there could be a likelihood that David Lemieux could surprise the heck out of Billy Joe Saunders and catch him early in the first or second round. And I could see a right hand or a left hook or a body shot, because David Lemieux does know how to attack to the body. I could see a fast finish to this fight from David Lemieux, either in the first or second round. If it does go to later rounds, Billy, as you suggest, I think I could see the early rounds, no feeling out, just going out really early. And I think once David Lemieux does land a shot onto Billy Joe Saunders, Billy Joe Saunders is going to say, wow, he can hit. And I think that might change the tone of Billy Joe Saunders' tempo. And I think the middle rounds maybe a little ebb and flow. But I definitely also agree with you. If he doesn't stop him early in the first or second round catching him, he's going to stop him by the 10th round. I think Billy Joe Saunders is going to bite off a little bit more than he can chew right now. And I just think that the power, determination from David Lemieux will be too much for Billy Joe Saunders.
Well, we both agree that David Lemieux is going to come out the victor. I do want to say this. I do give Billy Joe Saunders some credit. He has been trying to duck all the top fighters, and I guess it's come to an end. The winner of this fight is supposed to fight the winner of Triple G Canelo rematch. And like I have suggested, maybe the two losers fight each other, and then that winner fights the winner of the two winners.
I like it. That's a scenario.
It's getting confusing, but what it is it keeps the top middleweights active. But
active
in any event. On this day in boxing history, December 14th, in 1892, mysterious Billy Smith knocks out Danny Needham in the 14th round to win the vacant world welterweight title, and took place in California. On this day in 1968, Pedro Adgier wins a 15-round decision over Aldolf Pruitt to win the vacant WBC junior welterweight title. That took place in the Philippines. On this day in 1967, Hiroshio Kobashi knocks out Yoshikata Numata in the 12th round to win the world junior lightweight title. That took place in Tokyo. On this day in 1967, Raul Rojas wins a 15-round decision over Antonio Herrera to win the vacant California world featherweight title, and that took place in Los Angeles, California, on this day in 1967. On this day in 2002, Chris Bird wins a 12-round decision over Evander Holyfield to win the vacant IBF World Heavyweight title, placed in Atlantic City, New Jersey. On this day in 1964, Joey Gordello wins a 15-round decision over Ruben Hurricane Carter to retain his WBC and WBA World Middleweight titles. That took place in Philly. Ruben Hurricane Carter, we had on this show years ago. One of these guys that I loved. And if he would have been serious about the sport of boxing and trained, he had one of the best left hook to the bodies I've ever seen. It's a shame what ended up happening with Hurricane Carter. And finally, on this day, December 14th in 1920, Jack Dempsey knocks out Bill Brennan in the 12th round to retain his world heavyweight title, and that took place at the time, Mecca of boxing, Madison Square Garden in New York City. Programming note, we are not doing a live show tomorrow, but we will be back on Monday. And a holiday programming note, we are doing live shows Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then we're going to be off from doing live shows until after the new year, which is January 2nd. Now, I promise all you boys and girls and children of all ages, we are going to be coming back with some new stuff in 2018, and you're going to notice it from our very first show, specifically some of our simulcast viewers are going to notice some new stuff and new segments we're doing and all of that. But I'll tell you what's not going to be new is me or my co-host, Sal Rocky Sanacola, because you're stuck with us. But anyway, also stay tuned Monday. We are going to be announcing our next Billy C. Boxing get-together, which is going to be in a few weeks. It's our holiday after holiday. So make sure you stick around for that. Enjoy the fights this weekend. We got a lot to talk about on Monday. So all I could say is this. Make sure you tune in Monday morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.